Good morning and welcome to Today in the News here on Vanguard Live. My name is Ololade Adeomi. You're looking to the newspapers for today, starting with Vanguard. Major headline on Vanguard says Procurement. Federal government rejects U.S. report alleging lack of transparency. Says AUGF fails to provide substantive report on budget execution. Report not true, says federal government. Story can be found on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. State of the nation. Why we can't return to regionalism. Tanko says, you can find the story on page 14. And lastly, top banner says FAAC NUPRC records 459.6 billion naira revenue shortfall despite a 3% rise in monthly remittance. Story can be found on page 19 of the Vanguard newspaper. Away from the Vanguard, a look into the Punch newspaper. Major headline on the Punch says flood disaster, states intensify action as 232 die. 121,000 displaced. NEMA lists Niger, Adamawa, Lagos among worst each state in 2025 as farmlands, homes destroyed. Story can be found on page 2. Top banner says Olubadon, Ladoja, coronation rites begin with prayers. FX reserves eat $42 billion, highest in 6 years. Lower banner says Fubara consults Tinubu on River State sustenance. NBS announces 4.23% economic growth. Labour defers. Dolphins dedicate Zenith Bank title win to late bordering. Away from the Punch and look into the Nation newspaper. Nation says, Fubara, I have made peace with Wike. Tobana says, House pushes for state police, cancel autonomy, others. Oil, Greek industries drive GDP's 4.23% of growth. El-Rufai's life president's claim absurd, says presidency. Court fixes Monday to hear case on withheld or shown cancel funds. From the Nation and look into the Guardian newspaper. Major headline on Guardian says 24 states backpedal on electricity, decentralization over tariff, debt risk. Top banner says Fubara declares peace with Wike after meeting Tinubu. Nigeria's economy posts a 4.23% in quarter 2, outperformed projections. Nigeria's democracy faces collapse with INEC reforms, Bugaja wants. Enroll children in schools or serve jail term. Gombe government tells parents. Gunmen kill Benue APC chieftain. Abduct district head in Plateau. Constitution alteration. Tinubu, Akpabio, Abbas declare support for women's reserved seat bill. Tension in Edo local government as acting chairman receive impeachment notices. Natasha trial stalls as women's group petition United Nations. And lastly, Rivers stakeholders call for probe of IBA's 6-month administration. That's all we have on the front page of the dailies this morning. Join us after the break for a quick analysis of some of our top stories. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Today in the News here on Vanguard Live. My name is Ololade Adeomi. Joining me in the studio today for an analysis, a quick one, is Mr. Dayo Akintobi, publisher Ikeja GRA today, Lekki today, and Ilupeju today. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Ololade. Good morning to all our viewers.
I look into a top story for today. The U.S. released a report claiming that Nigeria lacks transparency in its public procurement process. The Director General of the Nigeria's Bureau of Public Procurement, Dr. Adebowale Adedokun, strongly rejects and debunked that claim, calling it false and lacking in merit. According to him, since President Bola Tinubu took office, reforms have been made to sanitize the process, increase transparency and accountability. How credible would we say this report from the US is? 139 countries were assessed. How credible is this report?
They must have used some data from somewhere. They didn't just pull the numbers out of thin air. They evaluated certain criteria to have reached their conclusion. And I believe that they don't cast aspersions spuriously. For them to have said this, there is some basis in fact. They are not frivolous or superficial people who just make reports willy-nilly based on non-existent criteria. For them to have reached this conclusion, they've looked at it, they've investigated, they've examined, and truth be told, you ask any average Nigerian, unless the propagandists and those who don't want to be realistic, most will agree that this is true. However, my beef is that what is the US's business? Who appointed the US global policeman? What is their business in meddling into the internal affairs of other countries? I mean, if we have a problem here, it is our business and we should address it and solve it ourselves. Well, perhaps the US's basis is because it's looking at trade, that the trade relationships we have with you, the contracts we sign with you, our vendors who supply you, our contractors who come and build your roads and your IT infrastructure and things like that, that they may be negatively affected by your procurement mechanism or your procurement structure. So perhaps that is their basis for having conducted the study, is to protect the interests of their own entrepreneurs over there. But if it is by and large an altruistic measure, just simply saying that, oh, we are fighting corruption, like, is the US corruption free itself? Even in their National Assembly, what do they call it, their Senate and their House of Representatives, there have been cases of bribery. We know congressmen who've been imprisoned for bribery and corruption, who have been, in fact, there was one that was relating to a case in Nigeria that had to do with former Vice President Atiku, where some congressman named Jefferson was accused of having taken a bribe from people in that administration in Nigeria to facilitate a contract. I can't remember, maybe telecoms or something like that. So America itself is not corruption free. So how can it itself now begin to pontificate to the rest of the world about who is corrupt and who is not corrupt? So that's my issue. I'm not saying the report is inaccurate. I don't think they would risk alienating their global partners by issuing reports that are not fundamentally accurate. So, and then one thing I've known about the US is that they are relatively painstaking in their research. They take their time, they are meticulous, and they don't just speak carelessly. For them to say something, if you look at the facts behind that report, you find that most of it is accurate. And like I said, ask any Nigerian, I'm not sure too many of us would dispute that. But of course, the head of the Bureau of Public Procurement is up and down saying it's a lie. No,
It's false.
It's false. You can't, this is not true. Since this new administration came in, we've sanitized everything, we've made it transparent. Even if the upper echelons at the top of that agency have good intentions and have put in all the, how about the civil servants that have been in the system for years and have been inured to a particular way of doing things? Are they going to change overnight just because a new administration came in? Or will they get more creative in finding loopholes that they can exploit? So I think it's a lot of huff and puff about nothing, but I think the report has some element of truth to it.
Dr. Adedokun, the DG, acknowledged that there was a problem prior to when President Bola Tinubu came in, but argues that there have been measurable improvement in the last 1.5 years. Do you agree with his claim? Are there visible results of cases that we can back up with this?
Well, from what I can see, it's business as usual. What we have seen in the last 2 years and a bit is no different from what we've seen in the last 20 years of the return to democracy in terms of public procurement. I haven't really seen anything earth-shaking. But then again, maybe they are making these advances and they're not publicizing them, until I heard the DG yesterday, up in arms crying foul. I never knew or haven't seen publicly anything that lets me know that they've revamped their structure and things are more transparent, and public procurement and contract awarding and all that, and scrutiny and evaluation and making sure that numbers are not inflated and make sure contracts are delivered to the quality, to the standard, all of those things that relate to public procurement. I haven't seen any difference in the way we are conducting business now in the last 2 years than we have for the last 20, how many? Now, the DG, I wouldn't expect him to say anything different. As the head of the agency, you don't expect him to say, oh yes, the US is right, we're messed up. No, he will fight tooth and nail because that's his credibility at stake, that's his own integrity, and that's the integrity of the current administration. So of course, he will object to anything negative. What I would have liked was, instead of just saying it, back it with evidence. Don't just say, we've done this, show us. What have you done? How have you done it? How has it aided the procurement process, made it more transparent, made it more honest, blocked all the loopholes. Show us. Do you have a blueprint of some of the steps you've taken to block the loopholes, block the leakages, stop the receiving of bribes, stop? What are the things? He just said. He didn't show. Me, I'm a show me person. You can talk all you want, but show me. Show me. The taste of the pudding, the evidence of the taste of the pudding is in the eating. I want to see. So he's just doing his job. He has to defend what his administration has done, and the government that appointed him. He has to defend it, whether it is true or not.
So talking about facts, showing workings, one of the key reforms they actually mentioned was the digitalization, making everything digital now. How effective will you say this would be when it comes to procurement in Nigeria? And have you seen any case? Has there been cases?
Digitization is sweet to trumpet. It's sweet to champion it, but are we really ready for digitization? Let me give you one example. For the last 3 days, I've been trying to register for a tinted window permit for my vehicle. They say Nigerian police says from October 2, they're going to start enforcing it. And I know the system is very simple, very streamlined. Just go online, go. I've been online 5, 6, 7 times a day, every day for the last 3 days, trying to simply even register. Each time I put in all the criteria. When I press submit, it says, sorry, error. Sorry, you are not able to to do this at this time. Please try again later, or contact our admin. Contact admin. When do I have time to contact admin? Why should I have to contact? They didn't even tell you how to contact the admin. Just say contact admin. That's digitalization for you, right there in your face. A simple, straightforward transaction. Now, public procurement is saying they digitize, so we should put our mind at rest. What has been digitized in Nigeria that actually works the way it's supposed to work, or simplifies the process, or works seamlessly? Have you ever had a failed banking transaction that you waited for a reversal? Maybe that was your last money. Your last money, and it was hanging. And did you get it back when you were supposed to get it back?
3 working days.
Oh, very good. Oh, you got it in 3. Oh, you are lucky. I'm waiting. This is about day 48 that I'm waiting, and I haven't got it. And I've been to the bank 3 times. So digitization is good to champion and trumpet, but are we really ready for it? Do we have the backbone? Do we have the infrastructure to make digitization seamless, error-free, fast, and accountable? Do we? So I don't think you can claim that digitization in and of itself is a reform. The banks are crying that, oh, their digitization is having hiccups now because all the youth have jackpot. That all of the youth that have technical knowledge that can handle their infrastructure, they've all left the country. And as a result, all their networks and all their platforms are having hiccups. So if the banks don't have the technical manpower to be able to deal with their transactions, who is Bureau of Public Procurement? Where will they get the technical expertise from? Which youth will want to go and sign up for a government job that's paying them peanuts, when banks will pay them millions and millions and millions, and even the banks can't find them? Where will Bureau of Public Procurement find the youths that are capable of digitizing them properly in a way that Nigerians can evaluate, or that Nigerians can be rest assured that that digitization is enabling transparency and reducing the incidence of corruption?
The DG also mentioned that anti-graft agencies like the ICPC, the EFCC, the police, and even the Code of Conduct Bureau are currently investigating and prosecuting those that have contravened the Public Procurement Act. How effective would we say the ICPC, EFCC, and the rest have been in prosecuting, procurement infractions?
Show me an arrest. Show me somebody in prison. Me, show me person. I need to see. It's easy to say, oh, EFCC. I saw some EFCC secured 25,000 convictions last year. We recovered 80 billion. We seized 1,000 cars. This, show me. I just hear the stories, but I'm not seeing anything. EFCC chairman comes out all the time and says, oh, we are following so. Oh, we found money here. Oh, we know this. But they don't name names. They don't publicly prosecute people. We don't see people in handcuffs. Big men, big names. Street level operatives. That's who the small fry. That's who we see them carry. Bureau of Public Procurement, can an admiral or a street level operative be at the level of a person that Bureau of Public Procurement will have any interest in, to where the EFCC will now start chasing such a person? No. If Bureau of Public Prosecution says EFCC and ICPC are on the ball about procurement, It's big wigs we will see, because big, very heavy companies and heavyweights that are the ones that can engage with Bureau of Public Procurement for government contracts, not individuals like me and you, the big people. So have you seen any big man in Nigeria with handcuffs on his hand and in court being publicly prosecuted, being convicted, and being punished and sent to jail? So when they say, oh, EFCC, ICPC, SFIU, all these funny acronyms, funny acronyms, that they are all doing this to make Nigeria a less corrupt country, I say, show me the evidence. I don't see it. All I hear is story. I don't see it. I think the FCC under the new chairman is a bit more active, a bit more vibrant, but we need to see substantive results. We need to see actual convictions. We need to see forfeitures to the government. Not this one that they'll find money somewhere, then they will say the interim forfeiture. Then if after 30 days they put it in the paper, nobody comes to claim it, the money is forfeited to the government. They ended the matter. But whose money is it and where did it come from? Forfeiting it to the government because nobody comes to claim it. That's not enough. That money was stolen from somewhere by somebody. And until the fact that you've got the money back has not cured the evil that was done to the Nigerian citizen. So until you go and you find that person and you punish that person publicly, seizing the money is not enough. It's not. People must learn that there are consequences for bad behavior. It's not just giving the money back and your sins are forgiven. No, the fact that you took it to begin with, you must pay a price.
The DG has also argued that full transparency could lead to conflicts with confidentiality, speed, expertise in case of emergencies as well. How should trade-offs like this be handled?
The way we've typically done in Nigeria is something called plea bargain, whereby we say, okay, if you bring back the money, we won't imprison you. If you pay back, and usually the amount they have to pay back is a fraction of what they took. So I stole 20 billion. You say I should bring back 1 billion and serve 6 months jail time. When I come out, I have 19 billion left for the rest of my life to spend. Most people will jump at such a deal. So, yes, there are some national security reasons. There are also reasons not to compromise an investigation, why they can't tell us everything. Because sometimes they keep some things close to their chest so that they are not showing their hand too quickly to enable people to cover their tracks. So I can understand why he would say there are some things they can't reveal. There are some strategies and tactics that they keep to themselves. But by and large, bottom line is, at the end of the day, what matters most is for the public to have confidence. I think the Nigerian public has lost a lot of trust, not just in the law enforcement elements of our security architecture, not just EFCC, ICPC, Nigerian Police Force. The bottom line is the average Nigerian does not believe that there is a wholeheartedly honest, truthful desire to search for the truth, discover it, and seek redress. That all our efforts are superficial, especially where the untouchables. There are some people who are too big to touch. There are some people who are too powerful to touch. So where those are concerned, especially political players, economic juggernauts, they walk on eggshells. So the FCC will be treading carefully. They'll be inviting you. Instead of arresting, come and arrest you. Come with a platoon, battalion of armed heavy people and arrest you and throw you in the back of the Black Maria shackled. They'll be inviting you. They will have a dundu and bole and puff puff on a hot plate with coffee and everything waiting for you to come in an air-conditioned room, and they treat you with kids' gloves. We have a long way to go.
Speaking about transparency, would you say data like for procurement should be publicly available for citizens to actually see, and independently confirm that the Bureau of Procurement is working?
There's an NGO, I can't remember, maybe Yaga Africa or maybe Budget or one of those NGOs, that what they do is they follow contracts that are awarded and they publish the details, the amount, the scope of work, the tenure, how much was mobilized, etc. And then they actually send people out to go and inspect the progress of the projects. So yes, for accountability purposes, there should be some disclosure, right? So Bureau of Public Procurement, absolutely nothing wrong with it publishing the contracts it has awarded, the names of the people it awarded it to, the amounts of the contract, the tenure, all the details, so that us as interested stakeholders, because remember, at the end of the day, the money belongs to all of us. So simply because we've entrusted one person or one agency to disburse it does not absolve that agency of accountability to the Nigerian people. So absolutely nothing wrong with it publishing those details so that we, because they say we are responsible for ensuring that our constituency projects. Remember that whole ruffle about constituency projects in the by the National Assembly that are being padded into the budget when that whole wahala came. What they said was, we are the ones that are responsible. The fact that the assemblyman has fought for it for his constituency, we are the ones responsible to make sure it is done because it is our money. So as long as we know that this constituency project has been awarded to our constituency or to our community, it's for us to follow up. And if we see it's not happening, we should go and hold the congressman by the feet or the assemblyman by the feet to make sure that, wait, in our name, you got this constituency project. We don't see the ball well. We don't see the school. We don't see the primary health care center. But they awarded, because the argument from the National Assembly was that we don't get the money directly. They pay the contractors, but it was given in your name. And of course, it was probably given to your chosen contractor. So in all likelihood, you can influence the flow of the cash. So nothing wrong with that. They should do it.
Would you say that there are areas in procurement where transparency is harder or slower than the rest? Because the major argument is transparency and how some parts cannot be publicly shown to the citizen.
I'm juggling that in my mind because, yes, in government, it's not everything that happens that you reveal to the public, because there are some things that have implications from a public relations perspective. But I'm trying to see what the downside could be in procurement, in you telling the people. After all, the projects are supposed to be for the benefit of the people. Anything Bureau of Public Procurement is doing is supposed to be anything, whether it's contract, whether it's project, whether it's employment, whether it is whatever, even palliative, anything they're doing is supposed to be for the benefit of all Nigerians. So I don't see that the downside in them being transparent about the things they're doing and the people they're doing it with. Most likely the reason they're shielding things is because perhaps if we know the names of the people that are getting the contracts, we will be up in arms that these are friends of politicians, these are politicians themselves. So they may not want us to know. Not out of an altruistic motive, but out of a self-preservation. A sense of self-preservation that says that if we tell this, it may not sit well with the public. So unless there are national security implications, or unless, by revealing your hand, you compromise an investigation, for those reasons, it makes sense to be less than open with your information. But other than that, I don't see why.
Do you say there are best practice models that Nigerians or Nigeria can use to tackle, this transparency issue?
You're asking me very tough questions this morning. Yeah, but on the spot asking me very tough questions. But yeah, I mean, there's global best practices in everything. And procurement is not rocket science. What is it? we want to build a road. We invite people to come and build the road. We look at their estimates and their quotes. We look at how many of them have done this kind of thing in the past. Do you have the experience? Or are you going to do rubbish? Then how much do you want us to pay you up front, or can you fund it yourself and collect the money later? So it depends, they're so it's simple and straightforward. There is not complicated. The reason it's being made to look complicated is because there's corruption behind it. If it is open and above board, it's a very simplified process that doesn't require too much calculus or further maths to be able to get done. So when you say, are there global best practices towards a proper procurement policy, you can look at the way it's done in developed economies and learn from how they do it. Most important thing is checks and balances in the system, which is where we fail a lot here. We have lots of laws on the books, but there are loopholes, and the ecosystem I mentioned earlier, I said, the guy at the top, the guy who was raking yesterday, may have the best of all intentions, but how about the people he met there who have been in that system for years before he got there and are used to doing things a particular way? So that ecosystem that already exists does it a particular way, and we always want to protect the way it does it because they benefit from that kind of system. So that's where the checks and balances fail. I'm sure there are already checks and balances built into the public procurement system. If you look at it, they will bring a book that's this big, that has regulations from now to kingdom come, but do they follow them? Do they enforce them? do they insist on due process? These are the issues.
Away from that, into a second story, a look into the flood disaster where at least 232 people have lost their lives and more than 121,000 people have been displaced. States like Kogi, Anambra, and Benue have been severely affected, and emergency measures are being ramped up in an attempt to mitigate further destruction. What factors would you say have contributed to the scale of this disaster? Do you think the Nigerian government have done enough or address this flooding issue?
They've been crying. They've been the government. We can't put everything at feet of government. The government was crying about this thing months ago. That look, the meteorologists have forecast that this rainy season is going to be severe. So they have already told people, move out of low-lying areas, move out of areas below sea level, go and find somewhere to stay because you are going to get flooded out. Then, of course, there's Lagdo Dam and all these other dams who, when the water level rises, they need to release the water so that the dam doesn't burst. So when you combine that with rain, it's a recipe for disaster. And they saw it coming and they warned people. Government in its own right tried to do things. It did flood abatement. It did drainage clearing. It desilted. Even Lagos State government recently suspended all land reclamation. All. Dredging, everything, made everybody stop, both those who had permits and those who don't have permits. This is all inclement weather related. It has to do with the fact that right now we are in a season of heavy rain and that rain will bring about flood. Why? Because people are built on drainage canals, and when government starts demolishing houses, there's political outcry. Lagos State in particular has been bearing the brunt of a lot of backlash because it's demolishing houses that were illegally constructed on drainage channels, because when you block a drainage channel, flood water or rainwater has nowhere to go. It will flood the communities. So I want to put the responsibility 50-50, that us as individuals, we have our own share of the blame, and perhaps government too has not done enough. There was talk about building additional dams to catch water and also to help with power generation. We've not seen any move in that direction. There's been talk about, of course, all of the drainage infrastructure. Like, I think any new large estate that's approved now, I think in some states, you have to have certain types of drainage channel, I think underground. You have to have sewage treatment plants. You have to, they've begun to modernize the way our drainage system works in such a way that it will reduce the incidence of flooding. So I think government is trying its best. But remember, we're 220 million people. Most of us have bad habits to begin with. The other day I was passing, there was a public transport bus in front of me, and the window opened and some guy just tossed out an empty plastic bottle of Fanta, and the thing hit my windshield. Fortunately, because it was plastic, it just bounced off, right? But if we ourselves are doing that kind of thing where we're just throwing trash anywhere we see, you know, somebody told me that tell government to put trash cans everywhere, that if people see trash cans, they will actually use them. But I've been observing our people. I've seen trash cans in places where the trash can is empty, there's litter on the floor. So I think we ourselves have a major role to play in orienting ourselves towards the notion that we ourselves are the major cause of floods. Look at how Lagos State had to ban one-use plastic because it was overwhelming the environment to a point that it's clogging up all the gutters, all the canals, everywhere, you know. So government is limited in what it can do. We ourselves are the first line of defense in terms of arresting this problem.
Let's look at the relief that was provided. What is your assessment of the aid being provided to victims of the flooding? Do you think it's enough?
No, it can never be enough, because first of all, you are displaced from your home, and if you look at the numbers of people, those who have died, those that are displaced, 121,000 displaced. Where are they? They are in IDP camps or somewhere now.
Yes.
Yeah. So when you are moved away from your own environment and from your own household, and you are put in a camp somewhere, it can be, no matter what kind of help they can give you. Can a tent be like your bedroom? Can, you know, rations, meals ready to eat rations, can it be like the eba or the semo you cooked in your own house? It can never be adequate. So it's a bad situation. When you see the TV coverage and the reports, you feel sorry for these people, and you just thank God for yourself and for the fact that you are not in that kind of situation. And sometimes you ask yourself, God, how am I better than these people? Why did you choose to spare me and these people are going through this? Because it is a terrible situation, very pathetic situation. And despite the fact that aid agencies, the Red Cross, Salvation Army, churches, mosques, NGOs have all been donating, public-spirited individuals have been trying to help, governments themselves have been trying to help, it can never be enough, because displacement in and of itself is a dysfunction. And that dysfunction cannot be addressed. You cannot mitigate it to the point of making the person as comfortable as they were in their own circumstances. So everything you do is less than enough. No matter, even if you are providing them 3 square meals a day, it can never be enough, because it doesn't restore them back to their original state of existence. Nothing you can do can be enough.
Our time is well spent. Thank you very much for joining us today.
My pleasure always.
That was Mr. Dayo Akintobi, publisher Ilupeju Today, Ikeja GRA Today, and Lekki Today. Do well to follow us on all our social media platforms as seen on your screen. And for up-to-date stories at our website, www.vanguardngr.com. My name is Ololade Adeomi. Until next time, have a lovely day.